So today I want to look at 3 different adapters to adapt Canon EF lenses to a micro four thirds mount. Now in general, there's 2 different kinds of lens adapters that you have. You have dumb adapters that are just open rings, and then you have smart adapters that will actually control the aperture. They have pins on either side to control your camera lens. And that's so that you can actually control the aperture. Now for an EF lens, there's no way to do it when you have a dumb adapter. So what you end up having is just a metal ring that acts like a spacer. And that'll allow you to put your lenses onto your other bodies, but it won't allow you to control the aperture. For a Canon lens, without fiddling around, all you have is a wide open aperture. What I have for a dumb adapter, this is from Neewer. And as far as dumb adapters go, it's cheap, it's affordable, and it actually fits real good. When it's on the camera body, it's nice and tight, so I don't have any issues with the lens, wiggling around or anything like that. I get a nice, good, tight fit. So for the money, this Neewer, it's very good and works very well. But sometimes you need to control the aperture. You don't always want to go wide open, whether it's because you want to get a wider depth of field or you just want to be able to control your aperture, right? So you have this, I have a Kipon, this is a smart adapter, and it has pins here that'll hook up to the Canon lens, and then on the other side there's a pin out that'll hook up to my Panasonic body, and it'll allow me to control the aperture through there. Now this adapter doesn't always allow you to control every lens. My Tamron lens, for example, doesn't work with that. It's a Tamron 70-200. And there's some lenses it works good on, some of it gets a little bit weird. But for the most part, my 2 Sigma art lenses, they both work very well. Now this adapter has no issues taking an EFS mount. And that's one thing you'll see on the next lens adapter, that if you have a piece of glass in there where you have like a Metabones, or what I have here is the Aputure lens adapter, you can't always use the EF lenses. But since these lenses are designed for APS-C and then you're only moving to a micro four thirds, for the most part they're not too bad. Now the other adapter that I have on there, this is the Aputure LensRegain. It works, but it doesn't allow you to control the aperture through the camera. You either have to adjust the aperture using the module on the side there, or using the handle grip. The handle grip comes with a clamp, so you can clamp it on different places. And one very nice thing about this is whenever you adjust the aperture with this, it actually doesn't move in whole stops. So you don't go from 2.8 to 4 to 5.6. It'll do it in increments. So it'll get you a third of a stop. So you go 2.8 and then a third of the way more, then F4. I actually have to mount it to my rig with the screw thread on the LensRegain. I can't actually mount it directly to my camera body. So say on my 50mm, say I want to shoot with this Kipon adapter. Okay, there's no glass in it or anything like that. It's micro four thirds, so it's effectively 100mm. Now if I want to go to the LensRegain, because it has the speed booster, the focal reducer, then I would get an effective 75mm. So that's nice. I could go from 100mm to 75mm. But now I want to use that with my follow focus. It's got to be put on my rig. Well, now I can't just take this out of the rig and then put the different adapter on. I actually have to break down the entire rig and then rearrange everything so I can put it on there. So there's kind of a limit to that LensRegain. I could use it for production work if I have everything planned out. What are my shots going to be? What kind of focal lengths do I expect to be using? And I can make adjustments for that where appropriate. But it's not something that I can just keep in my bag and just throw right on there whenever I feel like using it. The other thing about it is, it's advertised as having a follow focus, but trying to focus with this little bit here, especially when you're going for shallow depth of field, it's just too much of a pain. Like anytime I've used it, I'm only controlling the aperture with it and that's it. You know, if I want to follow focus on there, I'm using an old school manual follow focus because you want something with tactile feel. So I know I'm going from here to here and you don't get that with this, especially because the more you tilt it, the faster or slower it'll go depending on where you're at with it, like an analog stick. And it's just not a comfortable kind of feeling whenever you're trying to pull focus with it. Now there is an A/B and I really haven't used that, but I've tried it out and that does work. So, you know, that's one thing that you do have is you could just set an A point and a B point. So if you want like a straight rack focus from subject A to subject B and you have your marks all set up, you could use that for that. But if you want it for just like on the fly, like a remote focus control, yeah, it doesn't really work that well. It works, it just doesn't work that well. Now, if I wanted something with that focal reducer, that speed booster in it, I probably really would go towards a Metabones. And that seems to be just the best option. The LensRegain, it's just too clunky, very fiddly, and it's like I said, I have to break down my rig and rearrange everything, so it's only if I plan to use it, do I ever actually use it. So really for the three that I have here today, the Neewer and the LensRegain and this Kipon adapter, the one that I actually end up using the most is this Kipon adapter. I don't have the speed booster in it, but it does give me aperture control right on the camera. And because it does give me aperture control right on the camera, and there's no extra bits on the outside to get into the way. You know, it's as simple as mount it on. When I want to change lenses, just take the lens right off, put another one on. It doesn't interfere with my rig. Or if I want to go without a rig, if I'm just walking around, everything just works out the best that way for me. You know, if you're looking to save some money and you're looking at the LensRegain because you want to save $100 over the Metabones, I wouldn't do that. You know, I would save up for that. And if you really need to save money, then I would really look at this Kipon adapter. Adorama sells this. I think they're the only place that actually sells it. It's not bad. I think I paid around $250 for this, give or take. Depending on my shooting situation, I'll use any one of those three. You know, if I want something that I'm just gonna chuck in my bag, I take that Kipon adapter. And for that reason, I use it a lot. And I keep that Neewer around. Not that I use it a whole lot, but it's nice just to have. And then the LensRegain, that's something that, like I said, it's really just for that production type shooting where I am going to take the time to set up a rig so that I have those shots available and I'm using that speed booster because I need those specific shots. Anyway, that's all I have. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye.